Thank you, Stella. So actually that is not a surprise. We work since more than a year, right, on your own batteries. Hi, I'm Juergen. I'm the CEO and co-founder since more than 20 years in the energy industry. I'm part of the EPEX Exchange Council, so biggest power exchange on the continent, I would say. Married, 5 kids, all that stuff. So actually our journey goes back from 2014. For the ones who are not so familiar with energy trading, this was the first point in Europe where EPEX moved from trading screens that you may know to an API. What does API mean? You can automate activities that at the moment humans do, right? So in Europe, this practice of algorithmic trading or automating trading activities has only like 11 to 12 years of history, right? And we've been there from the beginning. So our track record is first mover, going the hard way, right? You know it. It's harder to build the first battery storage than the 10th one. It's harder to have negotiations with stakeholders, be it regulators, TSOs, as the first one, and not 2 years later, and this is what we like, and we always look for partners with a similar mindset, right? And we found that with Optimus, of being really pushy and going down the hard way, right? And also shaping a new market. So beyond the technology, right, where I could tell you now 5 hours what we have done, there is one leverage that we see in the cooperation and in our offering, which is there is a lot of knowledge that can be used from other markets, right? So we have 5 gigawatts. We're in general optimizing flexibility. So we have pump storages, thermal plants, demand side. We also have renewables. We have co-located assets. But we have 1.3 gigawatts of grid-scale battery storage in, I think, 8 countries, signed and in construction, right? So it's not typically, this is my pipeline. And we're on the continent, the player with the most operational assets, right? In all sizes, shapes, and forms that you can imagine, from 2-hour storages, 1-hour storages, 4-hour configurations, 3.5, you name it, all different suppliers, right? And what we create together is we use Optimus market knowledge, network experience, their own asset, mix in our experiences in choosing suppliers, looking at performance warranties, right? All things that impact your future revenues, right? Because for batteries, it's unlike for renewables that you close your PPA and you just remain with the technical or the volume risk, right? For a battery, commissioning is not the end, it's the start, right? This is where you have proof after 2-3 years of work that you're able to generate the revenues that you promised to your lender, that you promised to your shareholders, etc. So there is a lot of influencing factors in battery storage that are very new to the industry, right? And that's what we bring in. Also, when it comes, let's call it regulation, balancing markets, etc., right? With assets in France, with variable grid fees, where there is a different dispatch in France than in other countries. We have assets that have grid constraints, right? Ramps, ancillary services limitations. And our job is always to tell you as future asset owners, what's the impact of that, right? What if a TSO says you get a 15-minute ramp, a 30-minute ramp? What if a performance warranty asks you for a resting period? A very famous question that I had several times today. Out of a small spoiler, out of our 1.3 gigawatts, we have no resting periods at all. There is ways to negotiate it out, find other ways, because they could cost you like 10 to 12%. My colleague will present more details about it tomorrow. So future markets, also here, so we see Greece as an extremely promising market. Our strategy is still to leverage other countries. For example, we got access to the Japanese power exchange some 2 months ago. So we try to really grow the knowledge that we bring into also this cooperation. What's very important and what we see in all countries is that there is a lot of players running around claiming to optimize batteries or being capable of doing it, right? So our approach is different. We're Austrians, or I cannot say Austrians. We have 27 nationalities out of our 100 people, right? But we have an Austrian DNA, so we only talk about stuff that we know about and that we can prove. So These are parts of our operational assets. It's the biggest asset on the continent, live since May. It's EcoStore Bollingstedt, 103.5 megawatts, 230. So there is only one operator in Germany who has a 2-hour storage, believe it or not. Live in operation since months, so we have several of those assets. We even publish the revenues, believe it or not, certified by KPMG. So if you ever go to our website, you will see historical revenues certified by a third-party auditor, no simulation, no backtesting, no promises, just the numbers that the clients do. Of course, it's aggregated and anonymous, but it's a good indicator for you and an additional data point. We have Opton has a large pipeline, 2-hour storages that are in operation. We have 4-hour storages in the Netherlands, so we have a lot of trusted partners. We work with Bampu and Sumitomo in the Japanese market. So there's a lot that we bring in terms of credibility and de-risking your project, right? For us, it's credibility. For you, is optimization a risk, right, as asset owners? Are these guys, in this case Optimus and Enspired, delivered what they are promising or not? Because you will stand in front of your board and then argue why it's 15% less that you had in your investment case. So we bring that to the table, and how we shape it is that we leverage the local expertise of Optimus in terms of how do you read a regulation, right? For you, that's maybe daily business, but if we, as not a Greek company, look into regulation, we cannot derive what's really going on in the market, right? That's not only in Greece, that's in a lot of markets. So we use that local knowledge, we use the data, and what we bring in is transparency. So our customers get real-time dashboards, so they can look on their iPhone or wherever and see how much is bid into A4R, what's the wholesale's position, how much money do I make today, is that good or bad, right? So we bring the transparency, and how that works is maybe also important for you to know is that it works for every single asset, right? Every single battery storage will be different that you have. It has different performance warranties, it has different degradation profiles, it has slightly different dimensioning in terms of power in relation to capacity. You may have different suppliers, right? So everything we do is training an algorithm on your specific asset and trading it as a separate asset, right? It's not getting lost in a portfolio like you maybe used to by other players. So we're kind of your extended workbench, right? We work for you, and that allows us to give you full transparency. Let's see if we can aim for certified revenues. That was quite a hassle in Germany, to be honest. It took us like 9 months to convince an auditor, right, that usually looks at balance sheets to give us a stamp. That's not that easy. They don't mess around with their stamp. And we can leverage all on-site technology from Optimus, like being the dispatch, being it the control, integration in the VPP. We can talk about co-location, right? We've co-located assets in several countries, green storage, gray storage, so with or without consumption, right? And we try to just fast track in our cooperation what we learned and implemented in other countries, right? So you can be sure if you hand over your precious first asset into our hands, we will not start from zero. We will work first on Optimus internal assets, and we've proven it in other countries, right? There is also no special solution for the Greek market. We leverage what we've built for other markets, right? That's part of our strategy. So where is the complexity now, right? You could say, and we heard that a lot over the last years, is a battery just charges when it's cheap, right? And it discharges when it's expensive. What's the deal actually? Why do you need all the technology? And the reality is you have to take a decision the day before, look at all markets, look at weather, look at demand, and the complexity of decision is 10 to the power of 100, right? For all non-mathematicians, it's a 1 with 100 zeros. It's more than we have stars in the universe, right? Of course, we as optimizers don't explore all of them, so we just try to look in the right direction and then pick the right star for you. But it's a really complex mathematical problem, right? You have to assume how volatile will it be tomorrow? will I be called in A4R on a 4-second basis? What will the frequency look like, right? There is some stuff that you can just not predict, but you have to model it in a stochastic way, right? And that has a lot of effects. One effect is we've shown, for example, in a study with the French TSO RTE, that by using all revenue streams, we can reduce overall balancing volumes and overall balancing costs, right? Because, for example, if you use the wholesale markets on NX for managing the state of charge, you can plan ahead, right? In the old world, something happens and you react to it, which again creates imbalances, right? So there is a lot of positive things also in terms of renewables integration. There is a good reason why everybody talks about co-location, right? Actually, it doesn't matter from a balancing perspective in most markets with BRP systems if it's co-located or not. And finally, of course, we have to make the business case, right? We're not here only to make the energy system better and more stable, but we need to make money so that investments are redirected from conventional plants, from other sources into the energy transition, right? So we cannot deny that the IRR of a battery project is important, and we see in some countries double-digit IRRs. Right? So really attractive investment opportunities that attracts investors from abroad, etc., and just gives the country a push on the energy transition. So this is our job. Finally, this is how it looks like. I will not go through it, I promise, right? If you ever want to know it, reach out and we explain, but this is what all our customers get for every single asset. So you get full transparency. And this is what you will find on our website. So KPMG certified, that's numbers for Germany, 1 hour storages. Last mention I have is the difference between best and worst performing assets in this case is performance warranties. If that sticks out of my speech, look at performance warranties, and if you're not sure, please ask us what's the impact. So maybe, Estella, what are we heading for in the Greek market?
A final remark, a final note from me. I'm switching to Greek now.